Okay, our motion today is this house would live fast fashion. We have the government, Smansik, and one Praya A as a position. Now let's invite our first speaker from the government by Amalia. Time is yours.
I will start my speech from 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, as speaker from the positive chain of this house, um, as we know, fast fashion is the cheap mass production of trendy clothing. Wait, I'm sorry. Fast fashion is the cheap mass production of trendy clothing. Companies use cheap material and labor in foreign countries to produce clothing, following the latest trend. In recent years, fashion trends started coming and going at a much faster rate. People want to keep up to date with all of the trends, but could not afford to until this
Sorry, but I can't hear you guys.
Am I audible?
No.
Ya Allah. Mbak ya gimana terus?
Can you come closer to your speaker?
Wait, Kak. Am I audible now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay.
You can start from the beginning. Yes.
Okay.
Also, my speech from 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, as the first speaker from the government side of the house, as we know, the fast fashion is the cheap mass production of trendy clothing. Companies use cheap material and labor in foreign countries to produce clothing following the latest trend. In recent years, fashion trends started coming and going at a much faster rate. People want to keep up to date with all of the trends but could not afford to until this new industry started. As a result, people are able to wear clothes for a short period of time before moving on to the next new thing. While this can seem beneficial, the negative effects of fast fashion are overwhelming. The first, what is urgent to live? Because fast fashion causes pollution. Fast fashion accounts for 10% of all carbon emission in the world and is the second largest industry when it comes to pollution behind the oil industry. Fast fashion companies put out 150 billion clothing items every year. Since the material since the material of the clothes are cheap, people threw them away after only a few uses in exchange for new clothing. Many chemicals that are used to make these cheap clothes end up in landfills and back in the environment after being thrown out. Um, Another problem with the clothing is that when after being thrown out, and what another problem with the clothing is that when washed or thrown away, the 500,000 tons of microfibers or tiny pitch of non-biodegradable materials end up in the oceans every year. Fast fashion is a major factor in the destruction and pollution of the environment. And the second, what is justified to live fast fashion? Because in addition to pollution, fast fashion companies also exploit their overseas workers to maximize profit. Fast fashion is bad for workers, especially young and underage women. These women work long hours with minimal pay and they work in unsafe working conditions. Many women start working underage because they need a way to support themselves. Not only do these workers get paid measly wage, but they are also subjected to dangerous working conditions with no benefits or protection. For example, like there are instances throughout history, such as when the Rana Plaza workshop collapsed in 2013, killing over 1,000 workers. The combination of working long hours, underpayment, and extremely unsafe conditions are just some ways companies exploit their workers. And this exploitation is just another one of the negative effects of fast fashion. So that's why we ask the government, we will leave fast fashion. Enough from me. Thank you.
The first speaker from government team spent time 3 minutes 8 seconds. And now let's invite to our first speaker from the opposition, Miss Romadona. Time is yours.
Okay, I will explain about my argument. Fast fashion is a concept of rapid fashion change over a period of time for ready-to-wear clothes. For example, during summer, the fashion trend will adjust to the design and materials for summer. Then in winter, it will change again. In fact, because according to the label, this model does not only change according to the season but every month. Several years ago, this concept became a trend and was considered innovative to meet the increasing needs of the clothing world. The focus of this business is how to produce goods at the lowest possible cost in order to meet consumer demands that change rapidly and at affordable price. The trick is to make a limited quantity, then take advantage of the psychological response of humans who are attracted to limited edition goods. This is what makes it have a high turnover and is loved by consumers. By Heather Berrigan, fast fashion has been around for a lot longer than people remember. However, now it has evolved into a lucrative industry, which benefits both business and consumers. However, on the other side of the coin, fast fashion's popularity has forced it into the spotlight, which has caused many people to form an unethical opinion regarding the industry. Fast fashion has proven to be extremely useful in today's high-speed fashion industry as a result of first, low-cost production. The main reason why fast fashion has become a thriving industry is due to low production costs. This allows companies to generate quick and large profits, with clothing sales in recent years almost doubling from 1 trillion to $1.8 trillion, showcasing the immediate demand for this type of business. With low-cost production, enables the ability for fast fashion brands to mass produce thousands of products in a small amount of time for a low market value, which is extremely attractive to consumers. The second one is customer satisfaction. As fast fashion companies are able to make, sell, and send products out to customers and on demand, this ultimately increases customer satisfaction. They also cater to current trends and are able to mimic runaway favorites in a matter of days. Fast fashion has also secured the idea of having a new outfit for every occasion, which is possible for customers who shop at fashion brands as they can pay less and reaches the products as quick as the next day. Uh, in the 1915, if a woman wants to purchase a ready-made dress, she could spend about $9 or $72 in today's dollar to order an item for a sheer catalog. Today, a shopper could walk into Forever 21 and buy a simple dress for about $12. The price of an article of clothing today, along with the cost of material, labor, and supply can logistics required for its creation is cheap. Fast fashion is also responsible for big profits, especially if a manufacturer is able to jump on a trend before the competition. The speed at which fast fashion moves tends to help retailers avoid markdowns, which cut into margins. If there are any losses, fast fashion companies are able to recover quickly by launching a new clothing line, design, or product. As for advantage for the consumer, fast fashion has enabled people to get the clothes they want when they want them. Also, It's made clothing more affordable and not just any clothing, but innovative, imaginative, and stylish clothing. No longer is the latest look or being well dressed or having a large wardrobe the province of the rich and famous. For that reason, advocates argue fast fashion has had a democratizing influence on fashion and on society. Even those of modest means can constantly buy smart new clothes. With regard to policy debate, it means how conditions are in finding a good or bad. Oh, I'm sorry, that fashion affects cause change in social, economic, and political landscape. This fashion benefits and stimulates society in the process promoting creativity. Fashion also promotes creativity as designers endeavor to outdo one another through their unique and intricate design. When fashion district people, especially youth, promote productive activities, they focus more on acquiring the latest on the most fashionable wear rather than on education or work. People who cannot afford a certain fashionable items sometimes have diminished self-esteem and do not feel adequate among their peers. At times, people are bullied for not having the latest fashion. Some people believe fashion is harmful since it creates a society in which appearance is often valued more than character. On the positive side, fashion is an art which stimulates and inspires people to express themselves. People often show off their personal identity, talents, and culture through their fashion choice. Often people use what they see on fashion runways and in the stores to create their own unique looks, expressing their creativity. Uh, wait, wait. A designer will work for months to design clothes for each season and estimate market demand. This method is
And
applied
for the first speaker
by
is up.
well-known foreign brands. This is why fast fashion is also useful for promoting creativity. That's all from me. Thank you.
The first speaker from the opposition spent time 7 minutes 30 seconds. Now let's invite the second speaker of government, Dwi Nur Hafiza. Time is yours. Government, is there any problem?
Okay. Lanjut. Oh, nggak usah. Nggak usah. Okay. Okay, I wanna start my speech from 3, 2, 1. Okay, as the second speaker of the government team, wanna rebuttal the first speaker of opposition team. The first speaker of the opposition team say that passion can create designer creatively. Yeah, I know that. But the problem is if fashion always change time to time, the waste of clothes will become disaster if still much more. Okay, back to my argument. First, for our first stakeholder, for society, especially for teenager. Okay, if we still follow fast fashion, it's harm. Why I say so? Because first, we lose our identity. As example, we live in Indonesia, where is have many traditional clothes which we should still make that as trend because we must proud of one of those rich. When society follows fast response, it's one and what is the society goal of following fast fashion? It's nothing right, but it pursue popularity and existence in society that there is as the group trendy group people. So with truth, society always have a soul. Society always follow the trend where does the trend change every time until every month. So this will give them extravagant nature and in this dissatisfaction in society. And second, for our second stakeholder for environment, fast fashion has negative impact to the environment. Why is it so? Because first, the fast fashion industry usually use cheap and dangerous textile dyes which can cause water pollution and pose a risk to human health. And second, polyester is one of the raw material used by the fast fashion industry which come from fossil raw materials. So this time it will cause and microba that increase the amount of plastic waste per environment. And then uh, cotton cotton to generally used with a lot of air and pesticida which are hazardous to works and increase drought safety, great pressure on air source and degrade soil quality and something like environment problems. And uh, the fast fashion industry is usually also the cause of reducing the number of animal population because most of them also use animal skin as raw material and of course it will adjust to various chemicals like snakes, tiger, and other animals. And uh, the solution is in modern era we have to the articulation step where is the meaning of articulation itself is one of the ways of use as the government team where acculturation is an effort to strengthen uh, indigenous cultures such as traditional clothes, and this acculturation is able to survive the present era because this acculturation will always maintain our original culture even though it is already exposed to other cultural environment intervention. So it is will make our own culture always exist in this era. I ask the second big to pose.
The second speaker of government team spent time 4 minutes. Now, to rebut the case, please welcome the second speaker of opposition, Mr. Nasbi. Time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First, I want to rebut what the second speaker of the government said that fast fashion doesn't catch up with the time. But the fact is, fast fashion always follows the time. It means the fast fashion is affordable in any age. Let's jump to my argument. Fast fashion, like I said, fast fashion is affordable. With the help of fast fashion today, consumer can buy new trendy clothing at a very low price. They can afford the latest article and stylish regularly because they are cheaply made. Fast fashion accelerates supply chains and drive costs down to meet constantly evolving consumer demand. Fast fashion brand and retailer employ factory in their way countries where labor costs are very low. They offer jobs to local underdeveloped community trying to make a living. They launch new Germans every week and often cut their losses very early, jumping on new trend before the competition. They in charge new and returning customer to visit store and buy new clothes as often as possible. New style replace old design with very little soft. Fast fashion create an impulse shopping culture. It drives the demand for designer items and fashionable clothes available for less money. Second is there are many style chases. Fast fashion create new style every week. Design and production time have decreased dramatically. Many fashion brand and retailer can sketch, produce, and distribute new German inspired by the latest trend in very short time. The large variety of style choices is very appealing to buyers. Fashion designer and brand often partner with social media personality and celebrities to advertise their new collection. Fashion Nova is fast fashion brand that has been growing exponentially with the support of many influencers. It produces 600 new style every week. Its CAO, Richard Seguin, says he turned fast fashion into ultra fast fashion. The third is fast fashion is available everywhere. It's difficult to ignore fast fashion because it's everywhere. Trendy clothes either on the internet or in high street store. For the example, Zara is one of the most well-known fast fashion retail giants. The company produces all types of clothing, shoes, and accessories. Zara is the largest company in the Inditex group, the world's largest apparel retailer. There are a total of 2,259 Zara stores in 96 countries in the world. Before the Industrial Revolution, the world of fashion was primitive, small, slow, and local. Once the large majority of consumers got accustomed to clothes become cheaper, easier, and quicker to make, they start to love the idea of mass product clothing. The fast fashion is now a global phenomenon. People enjoy buying looks and outfits inspired by runway shows and at a fraction of the price. But the planet and the being living on it are paying the price for fast fashion. These are the advents of fast fashion for consumer. It's fun to buy new fashionable clothes at an affordable price weekly, but it's also very detrimental to the environment and the worker in the supply chain. On the positive side, fashion is an art which stimulates and inspires people to express themselves. People often show off their personal identity, talent, and culture through their fashion choices. Often people use one they see on fashion runway and in the store to create their own unique looks, expressing their creativity. Maybe that's all. Thank you. Uh, the solution will explain with my third speaker.
The second speaker from opposition spent time 5 minutes 42 seconds. Now let's invite the third speaker of government, Mr. Haikal. Time is yours.
I'm him audible. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Start.
I wanna to start my speech from 3, 2, 1. The second speaker say, Supernova have 600 every month of or every year, and second speaker said that variable in everywhere. Yeah, and how about the wasting of class clothes? Are they still fine? Like my first speaker said, is the cheap mass production of trendy clothing. Companies use cheap materials and labor in foreign countries to produce clothing, following the latest trend. In recent years, fashion trends start coming and going at a much faster rate. People want to keep up to date with all of the trends but can't afford to until this new industry started. As a result, people are able to wear clothes for a short period of time before moving into the next new thing. While this can seem beneficial, the negative impact of fast fashion are overwhelming. In addition to pollution, fast fashion companies also exploit their offices workers to make, a- make mass profit. Fast fashion is bad for workers, especially young and underage women. These women work long hours with minimal pay and they work in unpaid working conditions.
My second point.
My second point is we still follow this fast fashion is harm. Why? We can lose our identity. Where is have traditional clothes? Where is we sold update to saying in what about or one of those resides. Two, informant. An informant have environment. An environment have fast fashion have negative impact. What the what this one can cause water pollution, not for risk the human health because use cheap and detergent textile does. Two, increase the amount of plastic waste from environment. Three, increase truck safety grade. Three, pressure on air source, decrease soil quality, and something like environmental problems. And the fast fashion industry is usually also the cause of reduction the number of animal populations because most of them also use animal skin as raw material and of course it will adjust to various chemicals. In area.
You can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the third speaker from government team spent time 3 minutes 59 seconds. Now let's invite the third speaker of opposition, Miss Awaluna.
Hello, I'm the third speaker of the team, opposite team. The first thing I want to do is I want to rebut the argument that you said we will lose the identity of traditional clothes. Well, in fact, that fast fashion is a clothes for. Sorry, Miss, can I replay my speech?
Yes.
Wait. Okay. Okay, so let me replay this. The first thing I want to do is I want to rebase what your government team has said before, that they said if we use fast fashions, that it will lose our identity of traditional clothes. Well, in fact, that even though we still use fast fashions, but there are still many traditional clothes produced, and it is impossible to use batik every day, and fast fashions is everyday clothes. I mean, there's so much factories, there's so much industries that still purchase, no, that still sells traditional clothes. But it's impossible for us to always use traditional clothes every day. So we need the fast fashions to our daily clothes. And then I mentioned that from the first till the third speaker didn't explain the solutions for us. Why do we need to leave fast patients? So for me, we should always use past patients in change. You know, there are solutions from Europe says changes are coming from Europe, with French adopting an anti-waste law early last year. But this law is likely to exacerbate exciting issues in places like Accra. Under the law, companies are prohibited from disposing and unsold product, including clothing, truck incinerations, or sending them landscape landfill. Instead, they are required to recycle or donate their surplus instead. These donations are likely to be bundled up and sent abroad. And then, even like Zara, the biggest, even like Zara, the biggest factories that sells fast patients, they still they still sell their fast patients. But several well-known labels like Stella and McCarthy, Vivian Westwood, and Engine have long applied eco-conscious cues policy in their business. As did the recently grow retail like H&M, Giant launching an eco-friendly campaigns. Means they still care about the eco-friendly, they still care about the environment, even they sell the fast fashion clothes. And then, however, beyond this rich name, what's what's one must never forget a special label that knowingly carry friendly ethical codes as their primary philosophy and not just gimmick. Often referred to the eco-friendly fashions, label that strive to evolve the fashion industry with sustainable material community empowerment and code of ethics to minimize negative effect on environment in many parts of the world, including Indonesia. So yeah, okay. So another solutions for our environments about the fast fashions is to main and probably most beneficial thing you can do is to stop buying so much new clothing. Retailers like all ourselves are popping up all over the place selling second clothing. You can easily find an item that you love as cheap as can in Primark, and that's one of the aims of fast fashions. Just got to put a bit of effort and dig for something. It means that we can um, increase our creativity for digging the clothes or just give a bit more effort to it. As we know that, like as we know, apps like Depop and eBay Marketplace are teaming with a free enjoy good, just waiting to be fleshed out down to tone. We're more than one. Hear it again. People always have that mindset, but we have to give a bit more effort to it, like put your creativity and or using to another solutions of clothes. I mean, make another effort for your clothes. Most clothing nowadays is such a high quality. It will last you for a good few years if you look after it. Like Zara, we know Zara is a good factory that sell a high quality. Even if the fast fashions, but it still have a high quality. So it will last you to use it if you look after it. And then let's jump to my argument. The first argument I want to explain is about affordable designer looks. Okay, high-end brand name item cost in the thousands of dollars. Dubs look like and knocks up look similar but cost less. It's a way to have a designer ejected item without dicing out a big buy. That leaves you more cash for more purchase. Not everyone having a quiet money to purchase a clothing, as we know that luxury patient over high price to it, and people cannot buy it. Lack of demand, its industry will result a massive loss. So here's my data to prove it. My data shows that a massive loss of a market claim that they have a lack for about 2.8 billion. If the buyer will increase, then they will have probably 35%. But if they were not, then they will lose 918 million. That means if we stop the staycations in our fashion industry, then it will cause a finance lot to it. And then let's think, what if we leave the fast fashions? Then we cannot just dump a leaf fashion because it is everywhere. What about people? What about the worker? What about the company and the customer? The worker will have no job if we leave the fast fashions. They have no finance guarantee that if they being fired, then it will increase the jobless in our countries. And the company, if we leave the fast fashions, then the company will have so much problem in it, especially in the finance. And what about the consumer? Not everyone have quite money to buy a high standard of clothes, but they may buy fast fashions because it had a affordable price. And then for their industries, fast fashion is also responsible for a big profits, especially if the manufacturer is able to jump and trend because the competitions, the speed at which fast fashion moves turns to how the retailer avoid. Much over which cut into margin. If they
Your
are
speech is
any
over.
Okay, fast fashion companies are able to recover quickly by launching a new clothes line design and product. Thank you.
The
There-
first speaker from opposition spent time 7 minutes 20 seconds. Now let's invite the replaced speaker of opposition, Mr. Nasbi.
Fast fashion is also responsible for big profit, especially if a manufacturer is able to jump on a trend before the competition. The speed at which fast fashion move trend to help retailers avoid markdowns, which cut into margins. If there are any losses, fast fashion companies are able to recover quickly by launching a new clothing line, design, or product. As for the advance for the customer, fast fashion has enabled people to get the clothes they want when they want them. Also, it's made clothing more affordable and not just any clothing, but innovative, imaginative, stylish clothing. No longer is the latest look or being well dressed or having a large wardrobe the province of the rich and famous for the reason. Advocate argue fast fashion has had a democratizing influence on fashion and on society. Even those of modest means can constantly buy smart new clothes. Uh, and they only explain about disadvantage of fast fashion, but not tell us what the alternative solution. But we have give the solution. Uh, The disadvantage of the sustainable fashion is recycling textile and circular fashion has major challenge and isn't effective in a number of countries. Fashion may have a good data and misinformation problem regarding sustainable statistic, trend, and data. There can be issue with uh, awareness, transparency, and tracking in the supply and sourcing chain. Fashion may still need improvement across several key sustainable and even ethic indicators. Some sources point out that human psychology and behavior may be a permanent barrier to achieving certain levels of sustainable fashion. More information on sustainable in fashion can lead to complexity and conflict in information, which can ultimately lead to the consumer doing nothing or ignoring sustainable fashion. That's thank you.
The reply speaker from opposition spent time 2 minutes 35 seconds. Now let's invite the reply speaker from the government by Amalia.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, as the replay speaker from the government side of the house, my first speaker already tell you before, what is fast fashion? Fast fashion is the cheap mass production of trendy clothing. Companies use cheap material and labor in foreign countries to produce clothing following the latest trend. In recent years, fashion trends started coming and going out at a much faster rate. People want to keep up to date with all of the trends but could not afford to until this new industry started. As a result, people are able to wear clothes for a short period of time before moving on to the next new thing. While this can seem beneficial, the negative effects of fast fashion are overwhelming. The first, why is urgent to live? Because fast fashion cause the pollution. Fast fashion account for 10% of all carbon emission in the world and is the second large industry when it comes to pollution behind the oil industry. Fast fashion companies put out 150 billion clothing items every year. Since the material of the clothes are cheap, people throw them away after only a few uses in exchange for new clothing. And second, in addition to pollution, fast fashion companies also exploit their overseas workers to maximize profits. Fast fashion is bad for workers, especially young and underage women. These women work long hours with minimal pay, and they work in unsafe working conditions. And my first speaker already give you an example, such as there are uh, there are instances throughout history, such as when the Rana Plaza workshop collapsed in 2013, killing over 1,000 workers. The combination of working long hours, underpayment, and extremely unsafe conditions are just some ways companies exploit their work. And even if that with designer creativity. Yeah, I know, but the problem is if fashion always change time to time, the problem is the waste of clothes will become disaster if still increase in time to time. And the second speaker and my second speaker point is first, for the society, if we still follow this fast fashion, it's harm because of we can lose our identity. Whereas have traditional clothes, whereas we should update to seeing in word about our one of those riches. As example, Indonesia have many traditional clothes. And the second is environment. On environment have fast fashion has negative impact because can cause water pollution and risk to human health become use cheap and because the clothes use cheap and use the textile dyes. And then my second speaker already tell you about What the solution in modern era? The solution such as we have to do acculturation step where autocuratum it is will make our own culture always exist in this era. Enough for me. Thank you.
The reply speaker from the government team spent time 3 minutes 40 seconds. Now you have to wait in this room because I will submit your scores to the tabulation. You have to wait here. I will come back to announce the winning team. Thank you. Oh, okay, I have decided the winning team. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
The motion, this house would live fast fashion. So the debate will talk about whether or not it is better to live the fast fashion or not. And and um, and how we cope with the new situation that we live fast fashion or stay fast fashion in fast fashion, and how we cope with the upcoming problem that we caused by our position, right? So firstly, I will announce the winning team. This debate is kind of clear debate, so it's kind of easy for me to decide the winning team. The winning team is the government team, Smansik Alpa. Congratulations. Government brought up the idea of pollution and exploitation of laborers in fast fashion, and they brought out the idea of maintaining the traditional clothes that are threatened by this fast fashion. And overall, the opposition brought the idea that fast fashion promote creativity and promote self identity, and it will, if we leave fast fashion, it will harm the workers, the industry, the company, and etc. Both them doesn't really give a logical explanation, further logical explanation as to why they will, as to why this will make a really good impact. For example, the opposition concern, the third speaker of the opposition concerned with the labor, right, and the company, and they will lose money. Many people will lose their job, but they don't explain why it is worth it to sacrifice the possible bad impact that the environment will face by from this fast fashion. Why it is worth it to let the environment face that in order to feed our labor, to feed the workers, to get money because they are under property, for example. This is really common in India. You can explain that more. And the second speaker of opposition sometimes brought up the idea that contradicts your position. He mentioned about the labor costs are very low, and it is bad for the environment. It's really crucial points that will actually bring your team down. And what's good from the government is that they explain about the labor, the labor that the industry give the minimum wage from them. They work several hours that exploit their time. Wait. Sorry. Which part is contradict? Actually, I heard from opposition, the second speaker. Maybe he here he doesn't really know that the point is contradict. He said it is bad for the environment and the labor costs are very low. So it's
Sorry, Miss.
yes.
I think my second speaker has said that that is the disadvantage from the government team. I mean, we are explaining about the disadvantage of live this fast patients. He said.
The disadvantage of living fast fashion. No, actually, I
Uh-uh.
heard him saying that the environment, if he said that the disadvantage that we live fast fashion is the environment and the labor costs are very low, it's actually point for the government team. And unfortunately for your speaker, I suggest that actually the third speaker brought up a really good point, but it is really not fair that some new points appear from the third speaker. It is not really fair for the government team because they cannot replay you. They cannot rebut you. I mean, they cannot rebut you because there's no more speakers from them, right? So I suggest for the third speaker from the opposition, you can switch position with your other speaker. You can be the first and the second speaker if you like to bring new substantive. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Yeah, and there's no, and for the government, what they're lacking is that the solution. I mean, their solution is that to uphold their traditional clothes, which is kind of relevant, but you need to bring the solution that fix your problem that you brought up. For example, the environment and the low cost labor, right? The low cost labor. And yeah, but your point is more relevant and more is more heavy to consider than the opposition team. So and the second speaker from the government should brought the new point, and your solution should be more related to the problem that you have show us. And the third speaker from the government, I heard you just reread your previous speaker's point. I need you to give more example and more explanation from your speaker's previous point. Overall, it is a really relevant debate. You debate in the right track. That's all. If you need any further feedback from me, you can reach me out via WA. Thank you.
Okay, Miss, thank you.
Thank you, Kak.
You can leave the room now.